It's a mindset that holds us back from making our first deal, from taking the first step to success, because we have an ego. I don't care what your profile is. Ego, everybody has ego. And it's like, well, I should be able to do this better than the guy that wings it, better than the guy that's emotional. I'm the smart one. I'm the one that's analytical brain. Why can't I figure this out? And then you're 3 to 5 years in. And what you'll do is you'll justify your weakness with logic.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. So we got Gary and Susan Harper with Harper Business, and they flew in from Northwest Indiana. And I actually asked them to come on so that we can talk about your new curriculum, right? The REI Business Framework. So we're on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on the show, I believe, is enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. If you'll take consistent action, you will become one. We're also compiling a list of the top 10 objections that you guys are hearing in the field, compiling it and giving you what we believe to be the best answers to it. If you want access to that, text objections to 33777. And the show is brought to you by our sister company, InvestorLift. Go to investorlift.com, put in Disruptors to get 10% off. So it's been a couple years since we had you guys on the show. I think a lot has changed in that time. So what are some of the biggest developments since you guys were last on the show?
I mean, first, we lost a lot of weight, I think, since the last time people saw us before versus now. They might not even recognize who we were. I think I've lost 107. Susan's lost. I won't say it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But we've been on a health journey, trying to get healthy in life and business. And I think part of that, leading people, you got to lead yourself first.
Absolutely. So Cole Taylor, I got a chance to watch him speak on stage a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
At CG, and he talked about the way you show up.
Yeah.
It affects everywhere else how you show up.
Yep.
Right. So how accurate, or how much would you guys agree with a statement?
Man, I'll tell you, I can give 110% now versus 90% then.
Yeah.
In the sessions.
I 100% agree with that statement.
Yeah.
It's you can't put yourself on the sideline and think that it won't apply to business too, because it does.
Yeah.
So you've got to take an active role in everything that you do, including your health. So.
Yeah. So what kind of, time investment, financial investment, this and that, to make this happen, particularly since you guys are traveling? Because there's something that happens when you leave home. Your diet, what's the word I'm looking for? Your commitment to your diet wanes.
Yeah.
Well,
when you leave.
Yeah. Some would say it's just harder.
Yeah.
Except for us, it was the learning of what to eat. What's the right foods? What's the right combination that our bodies need, that they help provide that structure for? And now it's simple. It's super easy. I don't even have, it's like a game we play with, the MyFitnessPal. We put all our food in, and it's like, what fits where does it fit, and is it something on my approved list? Yeah. So it's like they took the decision making away from us. It's like, don't need to. Here's exactly what I'm supposed to eat. Did it fit in what I wanted to today? I plan out, like tonight before dinner, when I look at the menu, I'll put it in my app to make sure I can fit whatever it is I want to eat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we got to the point where we eat to live versus living to eat.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest difference. They give us what we call a body and operating system, and that's what resonates with me, because we teach business operating systems.
Right.
And they gave us a body operating system that's specific to my body, it's tailored to my body. And a lot like, their body operating system, very similar to a business operating system, the fact that you don't fit your business in a box, you custom the operating system around your business. The same thing they do with us is they custom that system around us, given the fact that we fly 5 times a week. We're home 91 days last year, that kind of thing. It actually, to a point now, Susan, I don't know if you agree with this, but it's harder when we're home.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Than when we're on the road, because we're in a routine on the road. We come home, it's like all gloves off,
there's
right?
More temptation
there's more temptation.
This is vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Was it you I was talking to where they send like the meal prep?
Oh, they're phenomenal. Yeah. Honestly, we wouldn't have done it without them. They help with their concierge service to help either they can actually order the meals for us and they'll show up wherever we're at, which is beautiful and wonderful. They'll help order groceries. They'll help with meal prep. They help with the supplements ordering. They help us with knowing what to eat, where to eat, when to eat. It's their hands-on system is just
Yeah.
they took out all the guesswork for
They
us.
were at our house on Sunday and Monday,
Yeah, of this
and we
week.
coached their business.
Right.
Because they coach our body. And Susan cooked for them, and they were just over the top about like how she's figured out how to have good meals with what they require us to eat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Once you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's that thinking about it where I really struggle. Because you're talking about like, plugging it into my fitness pal and like planning.
Yeah.
Like that's about where I stop. Like it's just, I was able to do my fitness pal, I think consistently for maybe like 4 or 5 months, about as long as I can go.
Yeah.
And logging it. And then just after that.
Yeah, well, I'll give Gary's secret away. The funny part is he'll eat everything I eat because I'll track it and he can just copy it.
Right.
So sometimes he just needs to eat more than I do, but
Yeah. I mean, that works.
yeah, it works.
But you can create my meals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So once you get consistent in the stuff you like to eat, you log it in and put it under my meals, and then you just go to my meals and add it every single time you eat it.
I know. I get that. It was just
Yeah.
Not
it
what
was
we
the
do.
routine part, right?
Yeah.
Because like we talk about our profiles, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm good with like process, but I'm not so good with procedures.
Yeah. And you don't like the same thing every day either with your profile too.
I can eat the same thing
Oh,
every
do ya?
single day.
Okay.
I can eat the same thing every single day, but it was really just because like you have a bad meal, you have to put it in there,
Yeah.
and
you
then
do.
you just feel awful about yourself.
Oh, so that's the wonderful thing. I think they don't make me feel awful.
Yeah.
It's that they give us celebration meals. You're
Mhm.
allowed 2 a week for,
Yeah.
X number of calories, and it doesn't matter what is on it.
Right.
And so it's like, don't hurt yourself because, and actually his presentation last week was, winning is not just once.
Right.
You have to win every day. You have to consistently win. That's what winning is.
Well, that message really
Yeah.
resonated,
Me too.
but I hadn't heard that message until a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. A couple weeks ago, prior to that conversation, I was like, oh, yeah, like everything was a one-time decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, this is just one,
Yep.
an infinite number of decisions, which makes sense when it's explained, but we don't think about it this way,
Mm-mm.
So true.
right?
Yeah.
The other thing was, so we were talking about Cole Taylor. I don't remember, what was the name of his business?
The starting line.
Starting Line.
Yeah.
And so one of the other things I saw in his presentation was they went with the blood work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you guys gone to that detail?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Several
Gut,
times.
biome, checking
Yeah.
what our gut tolerates, what our blood types are, looking at our hormone levels, things like that, supplementing based on that kind of stuff. Testosterone replacement, all that stuff has been a part of the regimen of our journey.
Well, what's nice, it's like anytime we felt stuck, we're like, well, let's run some more blood work and find out what your body's reacted to, what is happening, what's going on. So it's never I'm stuck and I don't know how to help you. It's I'm stuck, let's uncover what else is wrong.
You can
But-
actually troubleshoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
metrics.
Yeah.
It's
metrics.
absolute metrics.
I love it because it literally ties back to what we
translates.
do in our business operating system.
Yeah.
So it works for my brain.
How long has it been?
Been a year and a couple of months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so almost for you, almost 10 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Pretty significant.
It is pretty significant. I
Yeah.
was at over 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh.
So health has changed in the last couple of years. What else has happened?
Well, I've lost 2 parents. That's
Oh,
been
yeah.
rough.
It has
It's
been.
been a tough year. My dad passed away in January 2020. Then my mom passed away 9 months later.
Yeah.
And so it was a tough year. It's been a year. You never get to the end of life or going to the personal end of life with your family, your folks, and really know whether or not you're going to have regrets until it's gone. Like you can think you don't, right? But then you get to the end and you don't know. And I don't know. Up till now, at least till now, it's been 6 months since my mom and a year and a half since my dad. I haven't had that feeling of regret yet. So I'm glad for that. I'm glad that I felt like I, did what they wanted me to do as their son and helping them. And so that's a good feeling. Still miss them terribly though,
Yeah, because you weren't really the best rule follower at the time.
Right. Still not.
But that wasn't something that created a giant wedge. Like you still had a wonderful relationship with your parents.
Yeah, very much. My dad was my best friend. I had 265 voicemails from my dad.
Mhm.
And he would call me while I was in sessions and he would say, "Hey, son, I'm just calling you. I feel like today I just leave you a memory."
Mhm.
And so he would left me voicemail after voicemail after voicemail, and I kept them all.
Yeah.
And they were a blessing, huge blessing. I listen to them all the time, actually. I have different ones categorized. Someone would say, "Welcome home, son. Sure glad you had a safe trip." And others like, "Good morning, son." I had many of them that said, "I love you. I'm proud of you." So, my words are my love language is words of affirmation.
Mhm.
And I really had no clue how much my dad filled that cup.
Yeah.
Until he wasn't here anymore.
Yeah.
And now, there's a big void left there because I didn't really need it. Honestly, if you had told me my words of affirmation were my love language, I was like, nah, because he filled the cup so much for me.
Yeah.
But once he was gone, it was like, wow, I'm really missing a big hole.
Not to get, super like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
personal,
unemotional,
unemotional.
To get emotionally detached from this. I have found, and I'm not saying this is accurate, but just anecdotally, that if someone is a high B, right, high social, they generally like the words of affirmation.
Yeah.
True.
Is their love language, right?
Yeah.
True.
And so, like, I have a friend and her love language, or she's a high, I super social.
Yeah.
And like, I could totally manipulate this. I don't.
Yeah.
But I've seen it happen over and over again. Anytime someone needs something from her, they'll just tear her down, right?
Wow.
And then as a result, she feels bad about it and should go all in to fix it. Right after they fix it, she fixes it. Then they give her the words of affirmation, which like
a reward.
Yeah. And like she's just getting torn back and forth. And it's like, I know this about her and I've intentionally not.
She needs to see that.
I think I've shared that with her and I don't think she can get past that.
Well, I'll tell you, words of affirmation is probably the toughest love language there is because it's one of the ones that you can say something really nice and it works really well for them. But people don't realize when they say something even remotely negative, it goes the opposite direction for that person.
Yeah. So she's told me I made her cry a lot. I'm just being.
You're being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah. We're tough people to love. I'm just being honest with you.
And the other thing too, going back to the love language, one challenge I have is I know it doesn't appear this way, maybe publicly, but I'm incredibly lazy. Right? I just don't like to do anything. All right?
That's funny.
So it might not appear that way. But if you're, around people that there's a love language, it causes challenges.
Sure.
So, you guys have done multiple marriage retreats, relationship, I don't know, counseling, but, working on your marriage. Like for someone that's listening right now that's never heard about love languages before, like what advice do you have for someone like that?
Get a good counselor.
Yeah.
Right. Like Steve, for Keith Callan is the person that actually does that for us. He's the relationship coach that we have.
Yeah.
And he's who we're not expert in that in any means, shape, or form. Right. Like it's just not our area of expertise. So, but Keith is, and so I would say, understand each other.
Right.
When whether it's a business relationship, personal relationship, one of the things I talk about is you have to have a good culture in that relationship. And there's 4 things that create good culture. First is you have to align in position. So whether it's a business relationship, you have to agree the positions you're going to roll and the plays you're going to roll, or the roles you're going to play. And then in your personal life, same thing, right? Like somebody's got to agree to do dishes. Somebody's got to agree to take trash out. Somebody's got to agree to pay the bills.
Yeah, there's got to be roles and responsibilities.
Right. So aligning in positions, the first part of creating culture. Second is aligning with the person, and that's where values come in. Values come in there. Purpose alignment is 3. And last, from not least, probably the hardest one is goal alignment. And so where we see people in partnerships of life and business split is because one of those 4s break.
Yeah.
So it's either position alignment breaks, personal alignment breaks, trust and values, purpose alignment changes, or goal alignment. And see, would you guess out of all 4 of those, which is the biggest one that causes the disregard of the relationship?
I can say on my own personal experience is goal alignment.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 100% what it is. It's always goal alignment that causes it. Yeah.
We see that in personal and professional realm.
Well, I mean, I can speak, right? So I mentioned before that I had a business divorce, right? And I would say the biggest thing was just like goals changed, right? Like when we started, we had the same goals, right? And then at some point, we stopped having the same goals. Yeah.
Purpose didn't change.
Right.
Values didn't change.
Nope.
Now, goals, if handled the wrong way, could cause somebody to violate your values.
Sure.
But it's usually not the first broken window of the relationship. Usually the goals change.
Yeah.
We've seen couples split in the last 2 years that were in life and business together. Goals change.
Can you give an example of that?
One person wanted their wife to continue to be in real estate with them, building a real estate business. He's like, I really want to go do this other thing in education. And he was like, but you told me you were going to help me build the real estate. And she was like, I have for 25 years.
Done.
And now I'm done. And she's like, I'm going to go do this. And he's like, I'm not going to support it. Like, then I'm going to go do it. And goals change.
Yeah.
Right. And
But
so
that was a business divorce, or that was also
both.
It was both. It ended
really
up being
sad.
both. It was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's funny for that story, it applies to like 7 different people. I'm not just thinking about one person. I'm thinking about 7 different people we've worked with, like 7, literally. So if they're listening, they're like, oh, they're talking. No, we're talking about 7 different types of people, literally, that have gone through this.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. It's been hard to watch.
How do you, how would someone prevent that? Is that a preventable thing?
Well, I think you got to stay in alignment.
Mhm.
So it's a constant check-in that area.
Right.
You got to check in on goals. You got to check in on purpose.
Mhm.
You got to check in on values, and you got to check in on position.
Yeah.
We see it a lot in business too. If it's not goals, it's position alignment that causes it.
Right. That
Where
makes sense.
you have visionary integrator, both visionaries really, they start the company together and they're like, I don't really want to be an integrator anymore. I've helped to get this off the ground, blah, blah, blah. I really want to sit in the owner's box. And the other one feels slighted because he still wants to be the visionary.
Mhm.
He enjoys working in the business. He enjoys doing the deals. He enjoys running the company. The other guy's like, he feels abandoned because the guy wants to live in the owner's box.
Mhm.
And he's like, but you're leaving me. No, I'm not. I'm doing what I started this business to do, which is
Right.
reap
freedom.
the benefit and have freedom.
Right.
And so there's this feeling of being abandoned.
Right.
And so, like, it's a constant check-in. And then here's the bigger thing. Be okay if it ends.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you destroy it.
Mhm.
That's where you destroy the relationship, is when it's coming to an end and you're not okay with it and you try to sabotage the person to stay.
Yeah. I think, Leon Barnes, right?
Yeah.
CG, like, we've had this conversation because he's been in other previous relationships, partnerships.
Yeah.
He's like, it doesn't matter what happens when the partnership ends, it's just
needs to end.
different,
Mhm.
right? Like the relationship, even though it was great before,
Yeah.
and it was great during,
Yeah.
it's just not the same after.
Not.
Yeah.
Never the same. I mean, because people feel let down, they feel abandoned.
Mhm.
They start to reflect back on everything they didn't do right. A lot of times they reflect on the things they should have done better.
Mhm.
And that, it just creates bitterness.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you want to stay healthy in these 4 areas, then stay grateful.
Yeah.
Right? Gratitude is the one thing. When you stop having it, you start feeling entitled.
Mhm.
Entitlement creates bitterness. Bitterness creates silos. Silos kills communication. And there's like 50,000 books written about it after that.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we start every one of our client sessions with good news.
Yeah.
Because we're centering people back into great gratitude,
Mhm.
being grateful for what they have.
Yeah.
Because it's the first broken window in a business.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So same thing with a relationship. If you want to center it back in, look at these 4 areas, stay in line with them. Make sure you're checking in with each other, that partner of yours, and then make sure you're staying grateful for what they are willing to do.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was key. It's not people are most complex thing you're ever going to do in your life is deal with people.
Yeah, you say complex, I just say unreliable. And is that a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just like in any system. If any part of the system is going to break,
It's the
gonna be
people
you.
part.
it's the people.
Yeah. That's why I'm excited about AI.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of resigned to it. Robert Swanson, did you get a chance to watch his presentation?
I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, he did this whole thing,
Yeah.
right?
Heard
About
that.
like, here are the 7 things. Here are the 7 opportunities right now that you can use for AI and real estate.
Yeah, I watched it. It
Right.
was really good.
And he's going through all of it. And as he's going through all of it, I'm sitting, I'm in the back of the room, just talking with Jason Medley, and like, this presentation is great, right? It's wonderful. I'm not getting as much value out of it because for me, I'm just gonna wait for him to figure it out, and I'm just gonna pay him.
Exactly.
Right? You figure this out.
Yeah.
And tell me what I could do.
Tell
and
me
I'll
what I
just
could
pay you
do.
to do it.
Yeah, and I'll just pay for the software. Like
Got it.
that's for me. Like, thank you for opening my eyes.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do anything with the information.
Right.
Yeah. That's so true.
Right. But also I was sharing with Jason, like, Robert's about to make a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? To figure out the problems or the opportunities.
Yeah.
And to be the one that's the innovator.
Yeah.
In that space.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see.
Where it goes.
Where it goes,
Yeah.
what he comes with, and so on.
Yeah.
So I think also in the last few years, you've had additional family join the company.
Yes, we've had
Daughter join.
daughter-in-law. So our son got married.
Mhm.
I'm not entirely sure if our daughter was married or not.
Mhm.
Daughter got married. Our son got married. We were empty nesters, and we have a grandson.
Mhm.
So he joined the company too, just so you know.
He joined our C-level group.
He's our
Yeah.
C-level group.
He's our chief cuteness officer.
There you go.
So we're going to
Yeah.
pay him a little bit of a salary there.
But yeah, but now they all work for us too, which is
Yeah.
incredibly fulfilling. A little taxing sometimes at dinner when we're all talking business instead of
Right.
family time, but it's all good.
Yeah, we talked to you about that because I think that's really cool. Like, I got 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any would ever be willing to work for me. And I don't know if any of them that are manageable, right?
That's
But
funny.
but talk to me about like that experience of having the ability to have your kids join you on your venture.
I once said that our kids, we can measure the success of parents we were by when our kids wanted to be around us when they didn't have to be around us. That's what I used to say. And now that they want to be around us, it's huge.
Yeah.
I think early on we started prepping our kids to want to be around us through involving them with our problem. So I used to come home from work, whether it be in Chicago or be in entrepreneurship, and I'd talk to the kids about what happened today, what I was frustrated about, what went wrong, and I'd ask for their help in solving the problem.
Yeah.
And I would get so many different types of answers. I mean, one was like, Jake was like, take my teddy bear tomorrow, like when he was like 9, that kind of thing. And to him, he was contributing to the solution, but it aided him in feeling like he was not being pushed away from dad's work. And I feel like when we do that as entrepreneurs, we do that as fathers or mothers, what we do is we say, this is business world, this is home world, and you can't be a problem to me right now while I'm frustrated with business. And so we're like, not now, son, I can't play basketball. Not now, honey, I don't want to take you shopping because daddy had a rough day at work. All it does is create a disdainment for what we do because it robbed them of us.
Right. Creates animosity.
Yeah. So I recognized that pretty early on, and I started asking them to be a part of that barrier, breaking down that barrier so that they felt they were invited into that world versus pushed away from that world.
Yeah.
And so when it became, time for them to start working with us, they already felt like they did. Now they're getting paid for it, And so I felt like it became a natural thing. And for me, it's very rewarding for our kids to be a part of what we do.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
I had a Larry Atch, right, with
SEAL team
leaders. And, when they were working with us, he said something that I thought was really powerful, was that the best thing you can do is to have your kids be completely unreliant on you, so independent of you where they don't need you at all, because that's the only way to know if they really love you, right? Like if they need you, it's one dynamic, but if you raise them to be 100% independent, they're gonna be on their own with or without you, and they still choose to want to spend time with you, then they said at that point now you've got pure love.
Yeah, that's really good. It's good. I mean, I think that's what we've experienced, and having the kids being part of it, being there every single day. Like Susan said, sometimes the family dinners are a challenge because we don't want to work. They're the ones that keep wanting to work because they're still 21 or 22 and 24 years old. So 90% of the time, they're like, hey, Dad, can I ask you a question? I'm like, no.
Not right now.
Is it business related? Right? Like, so now that I used to bring them into the world, now that we're like grown up and we're working with us, now I'm like, no, let's go back to the world of family versus the world of business. So, but it's been fun. It's been fun having them a part of it, and they're creative, and they have energy and we don't. So that's good too.
That is good.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, you've made a new curriculum. I mean, you've been doing this for a very, very long time. And this latest version, I can tell you are extremely passionate about.
I am.
Right. So walk me through, what is the RISE business framework?
RISE business framework is a methodology of rising to your 100%. So every business wants to reach its 100%. Harvard Business Review says a business reaches business maturity. That doesn't mean you're 10x. That doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that you mature as a business to whatever degree you want to, right? And your purpose is what determines what that 100% is.
Yeah.
So resources is what R stands for. It's resources, inspiration, systems, and engagement that help us rise. We hit plateaus as we grow to that. The first plateau we saw was we hit a plateau in resources. We get stuck in time, money, or people. One of those 3 things start to hold us back. But if we can master that and rise out of that, then we get into inspiration where we inspire the resources. Inspiration includes culture, includes goals, short-term, long-term vision, and what that looks like, the purpose of the organization. Then if we can rise from that, then we get into systems, which is process, procedures, policies, and even productivity. We want to, at this point, we're leaning out the business, making it more productive. From that, we rise into what we call engagement. Now we've earned the right to expand our marketing, expand our reach, expand our sales. And if you do those properly and you rise to your 100% in a mature way, then you can move it as fast as you want to move it, but you have to know how to navigate each one of those quadrants.
So let's start off with the resources. So, kind of like, I don't explain it in nearly as articulately, right? So what I always say is like, like at first you got to figure out marketing.
Yeah.
You got to figure out marketing, and once you get the phone ringing, now you got to figure out how to sell those people.
Yeah.
Right. And once you figure out how to sell those people, then you got to be able to figure out how to like get the operations dialed in.
Yeah.
After you figure out operations, now you got to work on leadership.
Yeah.
And then finances, because if you don't understand finances, it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at like those are like the 5 different categories, and it almost always happens in order, right? How do I get my first deal? How do I close my first deal? Right? Now that I got to sign contract, now what? Right? Now I got to hire people. Now what? So Rise, you talking about it was time, money, and people.
Yeah.
So for the R, so talk to me about time with the resources, time, money, and people. Like what is that?
So people being, what people do I need to get the first deal? What people do I need to, what resources are people? It doesn't have to be meaning people you hire, but like who's going to help me write the copy? Who's going to help me promote this?
So the third-party vendors is included in the people.
It is 100%. Yeah. It's just what people do I need to get this thing off the ground and start making money?
Right.
And is it me? Am I the right person? We see it all the time in like, going to different meetup groups and stuff where people are 3 or 4 years in trying to do their first deal. And it's because they're not the right person to do sales, right? And so they are just floundering. They're constant learners that never do their first deal because they haven't identified they're the wrong resource.
Are these the people that are generally highly analytical?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
I mean, they have figured it out. They know exactly on paper exactly what this deal is going to be and how it's going to be, but they can't get it. Nobody else selling the house. They can't sell
one of our camera guys today, I was laughing at his shirt. He's like, and his shirt says like in big letters, right? Hold on, I'm still overthinking.
Yeah, that's those people. That's exactly those people.
Yeah.
So resources, knowing what resources we need. I always say I don't start a new business until I hire my business unit leader first, my integrator of the organization.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be a resource to my company.
Right.
Right. And that's the first thing. We lock ourselves down as a resource day one. So I want to get those people in place, whether it's me, a contractor, somebody else, to be that person.
Yeah.
Time. I always want a predetermined time. I want to look at 6, 12, 2 years. We just opened up Sharper Studios. I gave it a 2-year time frame. In that 2 years, I needed to know the money I needed to make and how much money I needed to spend. Right? When you do your first deal, same thing. You need to know how much money it's going to cost you, how much money you got to bring to the table, how much it's going to cost to fix it, flip it, whatever you're going to do. So money is an essential part of every business. We got really good in real estate of creating pro formas when we buy a house. We're terrible at it for a business.
Right.
So every business should start with what resources do I need, what time frame, and those things then create what we call a pro forma. How are we going to perform for the next 6 to 12 months in this business? How much revenue do I need to make? How much expenses am I going to have? When can I afford to hire these resources? That's the other thing. We struggle with some of the other operating systems because we would come in and we look at that accountability chart. We look at that organizational chart and we're like, all right, Steve, you're in 3 of the wrong seats. And you're like, all right, you're going to have to replace yourself in these seats. But then if we didn't do a pro forma to project out when you could afford to replace those seats, you'd hurt your business.
Right.
And we walk away because the operating systems we were using didn't give that in account. So then we kind of left people wanting to know when. Yeah. So in Rise, we brought in finance. So we create a pro forma with the team. Then that creates a budget. The budget gets monitored every month with the P&L. And the P&L creates a variance report of whether or not you're over or under. Same thing you do when you fix and flip a house.
Right.
But now that's application applied now to our business, right?
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've talked about a variance report on the show.
Yeah,
right?
I live by variance.
Yeah.
So every month I get what I call our key profit indicators. And those key profit indicators tell us if we're over or under and why we're over or under. If there's a variance in any GL code on our spreadsheet for our pro forma versus budget and our budget versus P&L, then I want to look at it and go, why are we over or under by 3% or more? If we're over or under by 3% or more, then I want a variance report on it. I want to know why.
What's funny is I think most people look at that and say, oh, I'm supposed to be under. But if we're under in our marketing spend and we're not, spending the amount we budgeted for because that should produce this many leads, that should produce this many contracts, we're going to be in trouble in 90 days from now.
Right.
But you could have caught that right then and there because you're under the budget you had set. So
Yeah.
being under isn't always a good thing either. Sometimes we have to spend what we expected to spend so we can get the results that we want.
Yeah, that was one of our quarterly rocks. I can't remember. I want to say like 2-3 years ago when you guys came in. It's like spend this much in marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to in order to project what you're going to make in revenue.
Right.
So the other thing that we did in resources is you've heard the cliche statement over the years, right people, right seats.
Mhm.
And I've said that for 20 years. There's probably at least 15 books. If you picked them up today, they would say that statement. When I wrote Rise, I wanted tactical versus philosophy. This book is a very tactical book of how to do it, not just what to do.
Yeah.
Right? And I find that sometimes as an operating system, we just give the what to do, and we don't give the how to do it.
Mhm.
It kills the what.
Yeah.
So we got into like, how do you make sure somebody's in the right seat? I said this a couple of weeks ago, even at CG. I said, I think one of the things I did that may have hurt this industry was bring like a psychometric data reporting structure, like a PI to it.
Mhm.
You know why? Because everybody felt like it was the one cure-all deciding if somebody sits in a seat.
Mhm.
But it measures potential of the person, not performance.
Yeah.
Right? And so we looked at it and we went, there's a heart, there's a head, there's a hands, and there's a feet that comes to the workplace with somebody every day.
Right.
And I write poems, so it rhymes. It's like the heart, head, hands, and feet tell you if you're in the right seat, right? And the heart is desire. And so we got to know your desire. Steve,
Yeah.
you don't desire to do sales and you have the ideal profile to do it, guess what?
Doesn't matter.
You're probably not going to perform.
Right.
Because the heart and the hands, the skills of the person, tell me how you're going to perform.
Mhm.
If you have a resume of 20 years doing this, you have a desire to do this, you're going to do the job, right?
Mhm.
What if you have a wrong PI for it?
If you get the wrong PI, I mean, I don't
You
know.
have to modify, right?
Well, they might not last in that seat.
Yeah, because potential.
Yeah.
Long-term potential of them succeeding,
Mhm.
they could burn out.
Yeah.
Or maybe they already have if they've done it for 20 years. And now
Or
you're
they've
getting
burnt
somebody
out.
that's already burnt out coming on your team.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's where these things start to come together. The heart and the hands tell you the performance, the potential performance,
Mhm.
and the head and the feet, the mobility, are they willing to grow the seat or grow with the seat, tell you the potential of the person.
Yeah.
And we have to have both measured. And we actually brought in what we call a 9-box system that measures potential and performance and tells you what to do with them if they're in one of those 9 boxes.
Right.
Right?
So we're talking about right people, right seat.
Yeah.
That's the what.
Yep.
Now you're sharing
How to do it.
the how.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Like you're talking about the psychometrics and how it might hurt, the industry in one capacity or another. We still won't have someone come in if they won't take the PI, right?
And we still should. We
Yes,
still should.
agreed.
Because that should be first interview. I always say there's 3 interviews
Mhm.
to the one that's right. First interview is what's the potential of the person. Because if you have 100 candidates, you want to limit it to all the high potential people.
Right.
Then second interview is will they perform?
Mhm.
Which is where you're measuring desire and you're measuring skills, the job resume.
Mhm.
Third interview is do they want you?
Yeah. So
The
let's
first-
walk through the second interview. So
Yeah.
the first one, I think a lot of people have already learned this part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the second interview was whether they have the skills, you said?
Skills and desire.
Skills and desire.
Mhm.
How do you measure the desire?
Desire, there's 4 questions that I put in the curriculum that helps you measure desire. But there is an assessment too, if you wanted to go that route. It's called Find Your Mojo. And Find Your Mojo is a assessment that helps you determine somebody's drivers, like their
Yeah.
mojo. Susan's number 1 mojo, if you will,
Mhm.
is learning.
Yeah.
So if I put her in a seat that she's going to do something mundane and never learn over and over again or try to grow with that seat, probably not going to be the desired seat for her
Mhm.
over time, even if she has skills doing it.
Yeah.
So I always make fun of this. The NBA, the NFL is filled with a lot of high potential, low performing people.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Because their heart's not there.
Right.
They have,
We have one of those here in Phoenix.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you were going to say at the Disruptors.
No. DeAndre Ayton. You're listening. Yeah, no heart. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's what happens. You're like, dude, this guy frustrates me. Why? He's got all the potential in the world.
All the potential in the world.
And how many times we hired somebody with a 10 out of 10 PI? They have the growth and the mobility to be able to grow that seat or grow with the seat or grow with your company. They have all this potential.
Yeah.
They might even have some of the skills. Their heart's not there.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, this guy, what are they doing? Like if I had half that guy's talent, if I had half that guy's
Believe me,
potential.
I say that all the time.
Yeah. Because that's what frustrates us. So we have to measure potential and performance.
Mhm.
When we get into inspiration, we also measure, are you the right people for us? The right person is different than being in the right seat.
Yeah.
So we get into measuring, do we align with our values? And do you align with our purpose?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to assess, do you have our values in your value system? And are you going to push to achieve our purpose? And then one of the ways we look to see if you're going to achieve our purpose with us is whether or not my purpose as a company will help you achieve your personal purpose.
Yeah.
And if we can get a yes on those 2 areas right there, you're the right person. So that's the tactical side.
And that solves the third interview?
Yeah, so that's a part of the second interview. The
Okay.
first one is, are you in the right seat?
Mhm.
That's where we're using the heart, head, hands, and feet. Second interview is whether or not you're the right person for us,
Mhm.
and if you have the skills to do the job. The third interview is, do you want us?
Mm-hmm. What does that entail?
It entails me selling you on everything about us,
Mhm.
our purpose, our goals, where we're going. Because at this point, I'm resolved that I want you.
Well, actually, in the curriculum, we've also outlined the top 10 things of what people are looking for when coming to a business. Like the number one thing is, do we challenge them to get up in the morning and come to work? Is
That's
our
number one.
business, it's
Yeah.
number one.
They wanna feel
Are we
challenged.
giving them a challenge to show up every day?
I had no idea. But I challenged the heck out of my people.
Well, that's good.
They're
you-
stressed every day working for me.
And when you
I don't know
create
about stress. That might not be the right answer.
stress and challenge is probably a little different. But honestly, it's one of those things that when you look at somebody in this world today,
Mhm.
they want the emotional paycheck as much
Yeah.
as they want the financial.
Absolutely.
And in our company, Sharper Talent, we have found these top 10 reasons why people want to come to work for people. And you would find that pay is on that one of those top 10,
Absolutely.
but it's not the top one.
Mhm.
It's like right in the middle somewhere, right? And so I always say this, when you don't help them see those other 10 or the other 9, you're going to pay more.
Right. We
Right.
have to compensate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of going through all 10, like what are like the top 3? So we talked
Challenge,
about
recognition.
Mhm.
What was the third top?
Culture.
Third one? Culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to feel like they belong to something.
Yeah.
Bigger than making money.
Mhm.
I'm going to figure out the mojo thing because, I mean, Susan and
It's
I have
very interesting.
so much in common. Like
Me
this,
too.
the learning thing. Like someone pulled me aside at the last CG break. I won the belt, which was like, a great honor.
Yeah.
Like, how do you have so much to like talk about
Yeah.
every time? Like, you're always like sharing something new. Right? I
Because
was
you
like,
learned.
because I love to learn.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's what fires me up. So, like we were saying, like, if I'm not learning, I mean, I'm probably gonna need I already take like 1 or 2 of these a day. Like, I probably need like 4 or 5 of these a day
If
Yeah.
you weren't learning something.
if I'm not learning something.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so we use Find Your Mojo for Desire. We use interviews for skills
Mhm.
because there's nothing that replaces that.
Yeah.
Calling, referrals, things like that. Predictive index for behavioral assessments, and then for mobility, ability to grow, is we use Working Genius.
Yeah.
So there's 4 different types of assessments that we use to see if you're going to sit in the right seat.
Yeah, I think Dave Coyle sent me like, look at this guy's PI and here's his working genius. Like, I've heard about this. Where did I hear about this? Like, oh yeah, Gary shared this.
Yeah.
So I want to challenge you on this topic,
Okay.
get your perspective on this,
Go.
right? So Ray Dalio, he wrote Principles,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? And he says like, if you can get, I think 7 assessments, I
Mhm.
think that was the number.
Yep.
You will never have to interview another person, right?
Yep.
And 3 gets you pretty close.
It's close.
Right. And so and I did my presentation. It was a couple of weeks. It was kind of funny. You interjected. I've done the Myers-Briggs, the PI, the Colby, the Enneagram, this and that. It's like pretty clear, right? Like how I'm wired. And
Yep.
then you get the questions from my friends, like, hey, how would you describe my unique traits? And there's a ton of overlap. Like how I would interview, I think would show up the same way there.
Huh.
Right. So then going back to your thing, you were saying like, without the interview,
Yeah.
this won't work. So like Ray Dalio says, if we do enough assessments, we don't need to interview.
Yeah.
Interview is absolutely key. So
Well, interview is a form of an assessment
Mhm.
because you're validating based on resume and interview questions. An assessment is questions.
Mhm.
Whether you do those questions verbally or
Yeah.
written, you're still assessing somebody.
Right.
So it is still a form of an assessment. I like it. I do not just subscribe to the ones I've given you, though.
Mhm.
I've only put those in the curriculum because I can't get people to do one sometimes.
Really?
You're right. No, I can't. Sometimes I'm like, did you do a PI? And they're like, no, I just winged it. They seem like a good guy. Okay, well, when it doesn't work out, let me know.
Yeah. There's that reliability thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. We do is your doitscared.com. It's a fear assessment.
Yeah.
That love language we were talking about, we do the 5 appreciations of the workplace.
Okay. Is it the same concepts?
It
Yep.
doesn't always translate to how you want to be appreciated versus how you want to be loved.
Well, I hope no
but-
one wants to get touched at work.
No.
Well, high fives are a big deal then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be.
I mean, there are ways to do it
Yeah, you can be
Ethically.
ethical. Like high five, buddy. It's still a form of endearment and touching, right? But that same gentleman who wrote Gary Chapman, that wrote the 5 love languages, he wrote the 5 appreciations of the workplace.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we'll assess that. We do Find Your Mojo. We'll do, some of the ones you mentioned. 16 personality histories exercise. We do Myers-Briggs. We do multiple assessments.
Yeah.
The average CEO does 7 assessments.
Gotcha.
So like Phil Green is the master of assessments.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I love Phil Green's assessments and how he does it. And he's constantly tweaking it and making it stronger, which is one of the reasons why when we implemented this with Phil, he absolutely loves this curriculum.
Yeah.
Because it brings in the logic side of it, the tactical side of how to implement an operating system, not just the philosophy side.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, we love assessments. We do them all the time. Fear is a huge assessment. Like people don't give it enough credit. Fear either causes you to do something or not do something.
Can you give an example of that?
Yeah, COVID.
Okay.
It's either I'm not going to wear a mask or I'm going to wear 7 masks. Like it's still based in fear.
Yeah.
Fear of control or fear of getting sick.
Yeah.
Right? It either literally causes you to do it or not do it. So you could have the exact same behavioral traits. You could have the exact same mojo. You could have the exact same experience. You could have all that, and then have somebody that has ultimate fear of people pleasing, and somebody else has an ultimate fear of being outcast. And the outcast fear will cause somebody never to engage in people at all because they're afraid of getting outcasted. And the people pleaser will cause somebody to want to be best friends with everybody.
Yeah.
So it does actually have a big role in somebody's life.
That's fascinating. And
so I actually put a lot of credit on it. I look at it a lot. My number one fear factor is people pleaser.
Yeah.
Like at 80%. That's pretty high.
Yeah, I know you guys have talked about it. I need to go do it.
It's also a really good book too. Do It Scared.
Yeah.
And so it helps you analyze and understand what that fear can do or not do. And then it tells you how to overcome it too. So it's a really, really good book. Highly recommend it. It's a free assessment online.
Yeah.
You pay a couple bucks and you get the whole assessment.
What was yours?
My top one was procrastination.
Yeah.
And it's like, I
I'm really
need
good at
things
that.
to be perfect.
Because you guys are
before-
just like each
we
other.
are a lot alike.
I think that's why I love you, Steve.
Procrastination, because I want things perfect before, completing them or getting them done or even attempting to do them because I need things just so before I do anything.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is like, just get started. If you would just get started on something, you'll push yourself to get it and give yourself a hard deadline. It's like those are easy things to put in place.
It's funny.
So-
We were on a plane one time. I see her just like in like a fast-paced mode, grab her computer, pull it out, and start like opening a PowerPoint. I'm like, what are you doing? She says, I have to write a presentation. I'm like, why? She says, because I just read a book and it said procrastination. So I'm going to write a presentation on this book. And I thought, well, I'll do it next week. And then immediately hit me.
Like, no.
I need to do it right now. So she
It
did it right
was
now.
before I even took the assessment. I was reading the book on a plane, and that was the first fear it was describing. I'm like, that is me, 100% me.
So
let's do it.
So when you say the procrastination, that's a symptom or that's the cause?
It's the fear.
It's basically, the fear is I don't have things perfect, so I'm going to procrastinate to get it, to make sure things are set up right before I do anything.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the effect of what happens because I don't have things perfect yet.
Yeah. So, I'm just thinking about as far as presentations, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I won't start the presentation on PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
I think without a deadline, probably like at most like 3 days before
The deadline.
the deadline.
Yeah.
At most, right? Probably less than that. But the whole time I'm just thinking about what I want to say. Like here are the things that I want to convey in the presentation.
Yeah, because you haven't processed in your mind yet.
Yeah.
So you procrastinate starting the presentation until you've got it lined up in
Time
your
to
mind
block.
because you're a process person,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So you're like, I got to get these things done first in my mind before I can start
Yeah.
this.
So yeah, it goes. I go through it in my mind.
Yep.
And then after that, at some point, it's a brain dump.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's like, well, let's reorganize it so it doesn't sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
My brain dump is typically I'm writing it out, so it's almost like journaling at that
Yeah.
point. And it's like, okay, well, let's organize it to figure out which one should go where and what.
Right.
And you're right. I'll then put it in
And then put it in
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, and then grab a bunch of memes off the internet.
Yeah. Well, and that makes sense because you think about your PI, you're
Yeah.
process driven,
Yeah.
right? You probably have the same mojo she does to learn. So you're probably reading all these books and then you're processing, because you're introspective, because you're high logic. And then you get to procrastination because you're fear.
Yeah.
So it's
I'll
literally
check the
how
fear.
all those are coming together.
I I think you're absolutely right. I'll definitely have to check
You have
that.
to let us know.
It was funny that I just did my presentation at Select I think a month ago, right? And I'm going through and I'm sharing like, the individuals, what I want, with who I want, whenever I want, however I want,
Mhm.
right? And I finished making the statement, and you're like, well, there's one more thing. I was like, what's that? I was like, your E is all the way over here.
Yeah.
So not only are all those 4 things true,
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. You can't convince me.
You won't even start
Yep.
it if it doesn't make sense.
Mhm. I understand that.
Yeah, she totally understands that.
And I don't
I'm
see
like,
anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what if you let somebody down for your people?
It's too bad.
Right.
I mean,
but that's my biggest fear. So then that comes into play for me.
Actually, we were going to dinner, right? Because so Eric Brewer, right, close friend, we're going to dinner, and he's like, "This is stressful." I was like, "What's stressful?" He was saying, "Well, we got to get everyone there, at the same time and coordinate and make sure not everyone gets there, or not that everyone's there, but everyone gets there and they know how to get there and this and that." It's like, this is stressful. I was like, I don't understand your stress.
yeah, I don't either. Gary does, though.
You understand the stress.
100%. Yeah, I'm getting anxiety when you just tell me the story. So
Yeah,
He
it's
wants
yeah.
them to all have a great experience
Yeah.
to even
Yeah,
get there. I'm like, no,
exactly.
they just need to show up. And if they don't, it's okay. They'll eat
Right.
somewhere else. They're not going to starve.
And that's what I said. I was like, I don't understand. Like, you just got to tell them, here's where we're going to be, and here's what time we start.
Yeah.
There's no more information necessary.
They are grown adults. They should figure these things
I
out.
would have texted them. I would have found it.
And that's what Eric was doing.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
sure
got a
people
fear of
pleasing
people
is his too.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, these people run successful businesses.
Right?
They
Do they
can't
though? Do they?
They run businesses.
Okay, there you go.
If you can't figure out how to get from the hotel
To dinner.
to dinner, like, you need God's help. Like, I'm not the one
Right.
to help you
Wow.
with this.
Yeah, I feel like I'm alone right now. So.
He is a little.
Yeah. So, all right. So that was the R,
Yeah.
right? So, is I then the leadership component, the
Yeah,
inspiration?
Starts with that.
It's vision, long term, short term. We have a whole leadership training part of it as well in there. We do have a leadership and management assessment that we put in there to help us stay on track, and a leadership audit that we put in. We got into determining if you're the right person by the values. We're looking at core values and purpose. One of the things we did that was really interesting in this inspiration part is we don't just discover the company's purpose here. We actually discover the people's purpose as well. Because 52% of the workforce is now made up by millennial.
Yeah.
And the emotional paycheck matters more now than ever. And so we want them to be able to see that their personal purpose is being fulfilled by helping the company reach its purpose. So that's when we talked about purpose alignment. If they don't see that, they probably shouldn't come work for you.
Yeah.
Because then they have to be, not because they want to be.
Right.
And we don't want have to employees. We want to employees. George Carlin says most people work hard enough not to get fired and get paid just enough not to quit.
Yeah.
That's a have to employ. We want to. So this is how we help drive to that. Then we get into long-term vision. Long-term vision is about inspiration. It's about hope. The Bible says there's no vision that people perish. The reason it says that is there's no hope. Short-term vision is about driving results.
Yeah.
13-week year, some of those programs, Scrum, 100% focus on 13 weeks. That's short-term vision. That's results. If you look at 2020, it was a prime example of the difference between long-term vision and short-term vision. We had to take away long-term vision that year for all businesses. We said, hey, listen, you got to focus on 90 days or less.
Yeah.
2020 ended. I asked people, better or worse year than 2019? You know what they said?
Better.
It was. You know why? They focused for 90 days or less. They drove results.
Yeah.
But ask them the second question was, how do you feel about 2020? You know what they said?
Stressful.
It was. It's like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Because they lost
They're
hope.
miserable. Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't dream. They couldn't vision, right? They couldn't be inspiring.
Yeah.
And so we have to have both to have a successful business. So in the curriculum, we drive to long-term, we drive to short-term, we drive to purpose, we drive to goals, we protect leadership, and we protect the culture of the organization by position alignment, value alignment, purpose alignment, and goal alignment. And we're checking on that regularly.
So you're talking about leadership and management.
Yeah.
And the inspiration component.
Yeah.
Can you distinguish difference for everyone that's listening?
Yeah, leaders love people, managers love process.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way on a podcast to describe it. Leaders just love on people. They don't like to always hold people accountable, right? But they love the vision. They love where we're going. They love the inspirational. Managers love accountability. They love managing. They love holding people accountable. They love the process. They love driving results.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it this way, leaders who are visionary, they celebrate when they dream of it. Managers celebrate when they get the results of it.
Got it. So I'm not a manager.
Right. And that's what we
Probably
find.
not.
I mean, it happens to me, right? It's like when I dreamed about the studio, I'm like so excited, right? We're going to launch a studio. Here's what it's going to be. We're going to launch 50 of these around the country. This is how we're going to do it. I was pumped. Everybody on my team's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you guys are dream crushers. Like, why are you guys like, why are you guys raining down on my happiness right now?
Yeah.
And then we got it done, and they're like, whoa, they're so excited. And I'm like,
That's what
they're
I
like,
expected.
really? That's it? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I already saw this. I'm already lived this moment, And so that's really the difference between the two. We have to have a balance because when we're a good leader and we get a good manager, whether it's us learning both sides of it or us augmenting our weakness and hiring somebody, then we influence people.
Yeah.
We encourage.
I mean, for me, right, like you talk about the vision, this and that.
Mhm.
It couldn't be any clearer with my wife and myself. Periodically, when she'll come with me to the casino, right, and we're playing no limit poker, right. Like for me, I'm excited when we push the chips in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She's excited
When
when
she
we're
gets them back.
stacking
Yeah.
the chips.
I don't
So
blame
there it
her.
is. That's
Right?
a great analogy.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I'm all on hope. Right.
Yeah.
I got a great hand. I'm about to take all this guy's money.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't.
But see, that's the thing. You're visioning taking his money, which
Yeah.
is the results, but you're visioning it here versus when you took his money.
Right.
She's getting happy when she actually took the money back.
Right.
So that's the difference.
We were talking a moment ago about the people that might not be the right person for as a solopreneur.
Yeah.
Right. The analytical profile. What do you do? What advice do you give to someone that is an analytical person who's overthinking and so on?
Well, I mean, Mark Cuban said, if you want to be successful in business, find your opposite. That's what he literally said.
But when you're starting brand new and you haven't done a deal yet, how do you find that?
You use contractors, you subcontract, you find creative ways with your analytical brain to solve the problem. And it's just a problem. It's not a barrier. It's a problem. So you find what your weaknesses are and you find the resources, the people, or you pay for it with money to overcome the problem. So you aren't the bottleneck to the problem.
Yeah.
That's where people get stuck. I always tell people you fail to grow for 4 reasons. Number one is fear. People are scared of it sometimes. They don't have enough knowledge of it. And the way we get rid of fear is with knowledge, sustain it with faith. Second is mindset. They think, well, I'm the entrepreneur. I'm the one setting out to do this on my own. If I can't do it, then it's not going to be able to get done. And that's just not true.
Right.
It's a mindset that holds us back from making our first deal, from taking the first step to success. Because we have an ego. I don't care what your profile is. Ego, everybody has ego. And it's like, well, I should be able to do this better than the guy that wings it. Better than the guy that's emotional. I'm the smart one. I'm the one that's analytical brain. Why can't I figure this out? And then you're 3 to 5 years in. And what you'll do is you'll justify your weakness with logic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely my attitude when I first got into real estate. I'm smarter than all these other realtors to be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
But then at some point I realized, you know what? I'm not that great in the living room. This is way before I got any kind of sales training. Like, I'm not that great in the living room. I'm just going to hire a bunch of pushy salespeople.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
It worked.
It worked for a long time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing you can do is if you start to look at your behavioral traits and you go, all right, so I'm an individualist. I don't have this push that they say is perfect for sales.
Right.
So then if I create a process, which is what you've done in your sales training,
Right.
it's genius. Why? Because there are more people out there with that high C that are sitting in sales positions that need your process approach to sales.
Right.
And the truth is, absolute 100% truth, is that approach of like hunting, that driven approach works really well when you're first starting. But when you build a business and you're in the systems stage of business, you know what happens? Process is very important.
You need
And
way more important.
consistency.
If you have a bunch of mavericks sitting in the company, they're going to rebel in that stage.
Yeah.
I'd much rather, from a sustainable business, growing my business, hitting the levels I need to hit, I would much rather have someone who has your process sitting in that seat in the systems phase than anything.
Yeah. And we got a chance to listen to Matthew Pollard speak on stage. right? And it was super therapeutic for myself, right? Like, you know, introverts can sell, right? Introverts are better salespeople.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I mean, that's a great statement. I like this statement, but like, where is this coming from? And what he was talking about was extroverts are extraordinary inconsistently, right? So they're extraordinary, they're just inconsistent. And then the introverts are consistent. They may not be extraordinary, but they're absolutely consistent because they follow a process. And he was kind of saying something along the lines like, introverts can't not have a process, because if they don't have a process, they're not following the process. All this introspective conversations they have in their head is gonna fall apart. So by having a process, or by having a process that exists, they must follow the process because there's no other way.
Yeah, because it's the next step for them.
It's the next logical step.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a foreign language right now. I don't understand. I'm a high B and a low C. So.
Yeah. But what was really cool was I got a chance to.
I'm just kidding. It actually does make a lot of sense.
I had a chance to have lunch with him afterwards, and he said to me, he's like, because we were kind of talking about his book and like how it was helpful for me. Like, I wish I learned it much earlier.
Yeah.
He was like, engineers are actually the most dangerous salespeople once they embrace it. Because now you got an intelligent person who can follow a process. So long as they can connect, right? Now you got a reliable
and consistent
operator. Yeah.
You want to hear something funny?
What's that?
After coaching over however many 1,500 businesses now in the last 6 years, in real estate, you know the most common profession we see come into real estate?
I wanted to say teachers, but I feel like that's not the answer.
What is it?
Engineers.
Yeah.
It's engineers. We find more engineers coming into this industry that were once an engineer and now a real estate business owner, and more successful typically when they have that background.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's usually a high A and a high D or a high C that comes with it. And that is what Disney used to call an Imagineer. And they're just, once they that switch flips for them, and they figure out the niche, it's almost game over for those people.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive to watch.
I mean, like Ryan Weimer, you guys work with him?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but he's that, I mean, he's a venturer, right? Former engineer, right? And it's just, once he has on a hold of something, he just makes it work.
Yeah. An adventurer is a high A and a hookback D.
Right.
It's Ren Bartlett.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
He's an Imagineer. He's a high A and a hookback D.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what those guys are great at. I mean, and that's why they build great teams. That's why they build great process. That's why they build great structure. I mean, it's just impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, like as someone's a captain, it's like I have to find reasons not to hire this person.
Yeah. It's an Imagineer.
Yeah.
That's what Disney loved.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite profile when I'm looking. So that's I.
Yeah.
S is
systems. Yeah. So in systems, one of the things we look at there is not just the process, which so many people come accustomed to doing now, but the procedure. I always tell people if you document your process without the procedure, what's that?
I said that's a bad word. That's the fudget word.
And nobody likes process. Susan's favorite word.
I like process.
No, procedures.
Oh.
I love processes.
Yeah.
It's the procedure because that's what gets really done.
Yeah.
It can unless you simplify how you get them out of your head.
Yeah.
So, no, we don't need SOPs. We don't need, and honestly, AI is going to change the way we document all of it anyway.
Oh, yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
My Sharper Process company is out in front of AI right now.
Yeah.
And the way they can pull process out of your head right now, insane.
Procedures, too. Yeah.
Process and procedures and policies. So we look at, in the curriculum, we look at process, procedures, policies, and we actually brought in for the first time productivity studies. So how do we measure the productivity in the process and how we measure how fast it's happening? In systems, we also created a meeting structure of culture meetings, organizational meetings, strategy sessions, and tactical meetings, those 4 types of meetings. We also tied back the 4 types of KPIs. So for every culture meeting, you have a key purpose indicator. Strategy sessions, we have a key profit indicator. Performance meetings or organizational meetings, we have a key performance indicator. Tactical meetings, we have a key process indicator. And so we actually trademarked those 4 types of KPIs. And it's something that I think has really helped the entrepreneurs know exactly. You know, in these other systems, when it says everybody should have a number, we've been able to help identify with this new tactical way what that number looks like.
That's good because the challenge we've always had is how do you have, for example, a transaction coordinator, admin, right? Like how do you, like a VA,
like a number.
What is their number?
It's our process indicator.
Yeah.
So when you document a process, if it's in a process map, the very last step is performance. Don't make it really simple for the audience. If you mapped out from start to the end, even if you just wrote it out in bullet fashion, the very last step, contract sign. Yeah. That's a performance metric. You look upstream from that, everything down from that is a process indicator. Yeah. And then you have to determine what is the most important process indicator for them to track every single day.
I see.
Because those are what we call the barriers to performance. And so every day I want to track a process indicator to make sure that the river's flowing to getting me to performance. Yeah. So process indicators are tracked daily in tactical meetings, really quick huddle meetings. Performance indicators are tracked organizationally on a weekly basis. Yeah. Profit indicators are looked at in that variance report every month. And then purpose indicators tracked every quarter after we've accomplished what we need to do for the quarter. Did we drive towards purpose? And it's interesting because if we look at process indicator daily and you make changes to it weekly, you'll actually protect your business. Because the way we do it in REI's is we start with the purpose and we build down how much money we need to make. Then we build down to how many contracts we need to get. Then we build down to how many offers we need to have every single day. That's a process indicator. If we build down and we measure up, then we're protecting purpose every single time we perform the process. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
And that's what's important to us. That's one of the reasons why we built it that way. And then everybody has a number. The employee has their process indicator. The leaders, the managers have their performance indicator. The leader has the profit indicator. And the innovator of the company has the purpose indicator. Yeah. And so that's what we're looking for. I really like it. I get stoked about it. The same 9 boxes come back in systems. When we're looking at process, we're looking at it. Does it bring value to our customer? And is it essential to our business? If it doesn't bring value and it's not essential, then it's waste in our process steps and we need to cut it out. Yeah. If it brings value to our customer, but it's not essential, then we automate it. If it doesn't bring value and it's highly essential, get a VA to do it. So in our 9-box system, we teach you wherever this process lands, what you do with it.
Yeah, who's responsible for it?
Yeah.
Or the caliber of talent that's responsible for
that's
it.
Exactly. Here's where Susan gets really excited because if you have a MVP type person, they are a star in the seat that you put them in the 9-box. We overlay the 9 boxes and say Steve Trang is an MVP person, high value or high trust, lines with purpose. He is heart, head, hands, and feet, 100%. He's a star in his seat. Then we find you in a low value, non-essential process.
That is waste.
A waste of talent.
100%. It's going to drive the productivity way down.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's where we can overlay these boxes now. And we can say, Steve, we can't have you in a low value, non-essential process. We have to have you in high value, high essential.
But it's funny. We often find the opposite is true. We have a low trust person who doesn't align with our values sitting in the highest, most valuable, most essential
Sounds
part
like
of our
describing
business.
A salesperson.
It kind of sometimes we are.
Because here's what happens, right? We have somebody who is a superstar in the seat.
Yep.
But they are not a value or a culture alignment.
Right. They're the ones that we're held hostage to.
Yeah. We have the wrong person, right seat, sitting in a high value, high essential process, making us a boatload of money. You know how hard it is to get rid of that person?
Extremely hard.
You know what also is hard to get rid of? The right person sitting in the wrong seat and low value, not essential work. And it's like a family member, a parent, a relative, and you're like, I don't want to get rid of Uncle John.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Those 2 people are critical to your business of hurting it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so overlaying these 3 boxes at this point, now we can say, do we have the right person sitting in the right seat? And are they sitting in the right process? If you do, here's a cool part. If you find a process that's extreme value and extremely essential, and you have a superstar person in the right seat, you can go start another business with them. Yeah. You can actually go take that process and start. That's why Sharper Process was started. It's why Sharper Talent was started. It's why Sharper Studios were started, because we found a process that was high value, high essential. And I had a rock star person sitting in a rock star seat. Yeah. And I was like, hey, you want to partner up?
That sounds really exciting.
And it was. And it is. And I do it every day.
Fun.
And then when we get into marketing and engagement, we actually get in and have the same 9 boxes there. We look at it and go, is this product scalable? And is it a cash cow? Does it make us a lot of money? Is it profitable? And that's where it gets exciting, because if you have the right person, top right box, sitting in the right seat, top right box, and the process is high value, high essential, and it has that product of high scale and high profit, you better believe I'm starting a new business with that.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that, we were talking about last week, something that was an idea that Eric Brewer had, and then we're debating whether we want to run with it, right? It's basically, having rebuilding the realtor team, right? And taking all the data we already have from our wholesaling company, teaching realtors how to call. It's not leads, it's data, right? But teaching realtors how to cold call this bucket of data, either get listings, pay us referral fees, or they want a cash offer, bring it to us, right? So we're looking at that. Yeah. And for me, we're looking at that. I'm not going to do it unless I can find the right sales manager. To manage all the realtors that have zero desire to manage a bunch of realtors. Another thing too, we're looking at was, potentially starting up a hedge fund, right? And the only reason why is because I know people with money. I know the people that are doing really well in sourcing properties for the hedge funds exactly in their buy box. And I happen to know a guy who was the guy who was the consultant for all the hedge funds. So if you come to Phoenix, start a hedge fund, like you talk to this guy, like, I know all of them.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's do this together. But like he had a rough year last year, so he's not quite in the right headspace. So we're just kind of waiting. He had
personal rough year.
A really personal rough year. Like I talked to him, he's like, 2022 was a rough year. He's like, it was a rough year for a lot of people. He's like, well, here's what happens. Like, never mind. Yeah. Like real estate was the least your problem. Year.
Yeah, you thought it was a business related rough year. You had a personal rough year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's tough.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to yours, but it was his children, not his parents. Right, so it's even harder.
I think that is harder. Actually.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's the engagement. So I mean, I think that's a ton of value. I mean, even for someone that's not even working with you guys, I think there's a lot of useful information there. And then I think there was a little bit more you were saying was, I think it was sharperbusiness.com/disruptors.
Yeah, sharperbusiness.com/disruptors.
Yeah, and you're saying there's a lot of free resources. What kind of resources are there?
It's links to our YouTube channel. We have hundreds of videos of free information, free content there. We have a video series on leadership that I did. That's free. That's there. We have 60 videos on engagement and branding and marketing.
Really?
Yeah, that Brandon recorded for you guys. That's there. Austin did a bunch of recordings on predictive index and he actually did a 30-minute, like our 3 to 5 minute video on each type of profile and how to analyze it and how they work and how to motivate them.
Really?
It's all setting out there for you guys to go and watch.
That's awesome. So, yeah, because I have like people like ask me, and it's like, well, here's what it is, but this is like, like you play that telephone game, right? Like, that's my understanding based off
Chinese telephone game. Yeah.
This is based off of what Austin shared with Steve and my team. Shared with me. I was like, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
Got it.
It means.
Well, so we just put it in video form. So now you can go there, copy it, and just share the video with somebody if you wanted to.
Yeah.
We have a video series on the heart, head, hands, and feet to make sure people in the right seat, how to make sure they're the right people. Susan and Derek, Anne-Marie, and them did a video series on systems and how to run your meeting structure and process mapping. And it's just, we just give it away, man.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the time we give a lot of what we do away and teach people. And then at some point, it's just like what happened at CG. Somebody's like, I'm just going to have you come in and do it for us.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it goes, right? Because it's not like this is a simple thing to do. It's like you can't just pick up a book and do it.
Yeah.
You need help interpreting, right?
Yeah.
Like you can, you can read the what, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like every other skill. It's like once you start doing it, it's like, oh, that part wasn't quite, I don't quite understand this particular step.
The practical application of it all.
Yeah. How do you interpret it is very important.
Right.
Communication. That's just communication. So along with the workbook, we actually have a book coming out. It's a fable. I'm excited about it. We've been writing it.
When's it coming out?
It's supposed to come out at the end of July.
Okay.
So it's a really fun book.
It is.
It's a fable. We have a second book coming after that. It's a tactical side. Mm-hmm. So it's like literally the how to do what we're teaching you. But the fable is about a guy named Matt. He's a real estate person who's left corporate America, and now he's going into real estate. He's going to turn around Grant City. He's rejuvenating it. He hires his sister, Charlotte. His brother comes to work with him. He's a highly analytical person, goes into finance. Charlotte becomes his integrator. He ends up putting her in the wrong seat, right? Like we walked through, like he didn't measure the heart, head, hands, and feet. Reggie Singers is a business coach. He comes in to kind of save his day after 5 years of flailing. And he implements the REI system for him. And it shows how he grows. And then he ends up going through the book and coming out on the other end and helping other people.
Yeah.
And so that's the fable. I just nutshelled it for you. But it's a fun read. It's actually a really fun read.
Well, and just as a testament, I've talked about it before, but, for those that haven't watched it before, is I had you guys come out for our, I want to say 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2019 and 2020.
I think it was 2019.
Yeah, right. And you guys came out. And I've said this before, and I hope I don't sound too, narcissistic or egotistical here, but I read all the books, right? I've digested a lot of content, a lot of material, and I've invested a lot in my personal development. So when you came out, I was like, I don't feel like Gary really taught me anything specifically, tactically as a business, but man, you exposed all the blind spots. Like here are all the things that I didn't even realize I was screwing up. Like I knew it. I was aware of it. If I was watching someone else's company,
Yeah.
I can identify. It's like, that's stupid. Why are you doing it that way?
Yeah.
Right?
We all do that.
Yeah. But to have another person come in, right? That's where have an expert come in that can see the blind spots and point them out for you and just really kind of push that pain button. It's like, you got to really stop doing this right now.
It's interesting. I like TikTok. I love your videos, by the way.
Thank you.
And one of my favorite one is this guy shaving hose on horses and cows. I don't know why. I really like it.
Yeah,
it is oddly satisfying.
It is. But he starts off with, well, the problem is obvious here. And I'm like, I don't see an obvious problem. I see dirt, right? And I think that's what happens. Because he looks at hose 40 times a day, he lifts the hose and he sees the problem immediately. And he knows where the white wall is going to be broken, where there's a deviation or there's an infection. And I have to wait till the end of the video and figure it out every single time. But he makes me feel so stupid because he makes it seem like it's so obvious, right? And I think that's what happens with us. When we come in, there are a lot of people that just don't have knowledge of business. Steve, it was not you. You have a lot of knowledge in business. Very intelligent. I told Susan, one of the smartest people we worked with was you.
Yeah, thank you.
But sometimes you watch the video and you're like, it's dirt, And so I think that's what happens with some people. I think some people actually need to be taught. Some people need to be their eyes open to just what they're in every single day.
Right.
We're not immune to that. I don't think any business is immune to that. Whenever you think that you've got it all figured out, and this is us included, and you're not willing to be vulnerable, let somebody else take a look under the hood, then you might be destroying your engine.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that that's that mindset adjustment that has to happen. One of the 4 reasons we don't grow.
Yeah.
I said earlier, fear. Number 2, mindset. I don't think I finished it. Number 3 is connections. Number 3 reason why we don't grow is connections. Why masterminds, collective genius has been so big for us. We've met through connections.
Yeah.
Last is systems and processes, right? And if you don't fix the first 3, the bottom one doesn't matter because nobody's ever going to let you look under the hood if they think mindset-wise, they have it all figured out.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to keep that in perspective.
Yeah, one of the biggest things for me is a turnoff. I can never work with this person. Right, is that if they've got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. The moment they know it, it's just I cannot continue this relationship.
Because arrogance.
Yeah.
I love confident people. But what I love is humble confidence.
Right.
If I had to describe you, I'd describe you as humble, confident. And humble is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you don't be confident. You can be confident.
Right.
But be humble enough to open the hood.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Arrogance. That's a whole different breed.
Well, one of the guys in our office, giant Lakers fan.
Yeah.
And one of his favorite players is Austin Reeves, and that guy had a breakout season. Right. But when he screamed, "I am him," I was like, I am done with this guy.
Yeah.
Right. I think I'm not a religious person, right? But I think if you go back, at least in this country, there's only one person that can say that, right? And he died.
Yeah.
Right. For the sins.
Yeah.
Right. That guy can say it.
Yeah.
Beyond him,
nobody else should.
I don't think anyone should be out screaming, jumping around like I am. It's just such a turnoff.
Yeah. It's so arrogant.
Yeah.
It's so arrogant. I don't know. I don't work well with people like that either. So I think we're in good company.
Right.
For
I
sure.
want to ask you. So Ren and I were doing this sales leadership thing, right? So we're talking about Rise. So something that we're doing is the sales leadership component, right? Sales leadership training. And something that I've said is that you got systems and operations, and I think that if you're not doing it well, at least you're aware that you need to get better at this. And you know where the shortfalls are because there's what the best companies are doing. So you have an aspirational target.
Yep.
You got a target to hit. Marketing, it's not rocket science. It's just copy and paste, right? What's working for Susan? All right, I'm going to do that. Right? And you just got to keep track on cash conversion cycle, ROI, and this and that.
Yep.
But marketing, not rocket science. Operations, it's just having a couple of, having really one really good operator can kind of get you there. So I have this thesis, figuring this out, is that the difference then right now, the biggest opportunity for gain is the quality of your salespeople. Right? So he with the best sales team at this moment, he or she with the best sales team right now, all things being equal, because the equalizer is out there. You've got this curriculum, right? You have Gary Harper come through 3-4 times. Like operations are going to be pretty good.
Yep.
It might not be 100%, but it might be upper 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the goal. The goal is to be 80, 90% or stronger in that area.
Yeah. So if you get upper 80s here, marketing is going to be, it's a pretty even playing field today in marketing.
Yeah.
So the difference is
Not
just
a lot of people doing different styles of marketing or figuring it out. If they do, somebody copies it tomorrow. So
right. It's
exactly
not a
what it is.
long competitive advantage.
No, it is
Right.
definitely sales.
Yeah. So the quality of the salespeople is the ultimate differentiator today.
It is.
So I just wanted to see like you guys were on.
Yeah, we totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell people, if you're not making money, you don't have a business.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, you know how many people a week they call us and we go, we can't work with you.
Really?
We have to.
Yeah.
Because when I come in, I need money to help implement the changes that hire the people. And then, the first thing I do is time, money, and people. And if I can't do a performance because you're not selling or buying houses properly, I can't implement a system.
Yeah.
Right? So my son, Jacob, every week has to tell people no, every week. Because they call us and go, can you help me build a system so I can build my business? And Jacob says, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
You're not even buying and selling houses right now. It's not a business. Yeah. And you can tell him that, but he does. And I think that's important to know. Like, you shouldn't be pursuing after building a business when it's not even close to being a hobby yet.
So, one thing I do, the advice I give a lot of people are like, if you're starting over brand new today and you got nothing going on, what do you do? I always say the same two things is hire a coach and hire an assistant. So with this though, you're saying if you don't have a business yet, you're saying don't hire a coach. You're saying like, we're not the coach.
So you have to start with the linear of what you need. So marketing, sales, operations, finance. It almost falls in that order, right? There's a reason why it's built that way. If sales isn't working, you don't have sales, then you don't need an operations coach. You need a sales coach.
Right.
You still need a coach. It's just what coach you need. You know that the average player has like 7 coaches.
What kind of player?
Like a basketball, football, athletes. They have multiple coaches. So does business owners. Business owners I have 5 coaches.
Really?
Yeah. I have a fitness coach. I have a mindset coach. I have a relationship coach. I have a spiritual coach, right? Like I have my own business coach. Like we have multiple coaches to help us keep us on the straight and narrow. I guess we have 6. We have a financial coach.
Yeah.
Right. We have multiple coaches to keep us. They're I call them guardrails. You drive a car on the side of a mountain. You don't want to drive a car on the side of a mountain without a guardrail.
Yeah.
Right. Because something happens, you blow a tire. You don't want to just fly off the side of the mountain. You want to be able to save. That's what a coach really does. It kind of keeps you on that straight and narrow path and helps see the blind spots and keep you back on the road if you blow a tire. So, I think it's important to know what coach you need at what time. You don't go get speed and agility coaching when your shot's off.
Yeah.
You go hire a shooting coach. You don't go hire a business coach when your sales suck.
Yeah.
You go hire sales coaching. You go figure out how to get your sales up because you're going to hurt your company if you don't have the sales to support the changes and growth of a business operating system.
Yeah.
It's not smart.
So at what caliber should someone be at before they reach out to Sharper Business?
So for me, what I like to see is somebody having consistent deal flow. It could be 3 deals a month. It could be 50 deals a month. I want consistency. I want to see that they have a rhythm in sales and their process of sales works.
Gotcha.
That's what I want. But I will tell you, if you have that consistency in sales and it's working to whatever degree or size, you better be careful trying to grow it to that next level without putting some level of business operating system in place that helps you determine the right people, right seats, right processes for onboarding, and growth for engagement.
So going back, name of the fable that's coming out?
Yeah, it's Rise Up.
Rise Up is the fable. And then the tactical book?
The tactical book is Risen.
Risen. And that's coming out when?
That will probably be at the end of the year.
So July?
Rise Up is July.
Rise Up, end of the year, Risen.
Risen.
Okay. So, and then real quick again, so sharperbusiness.com/disruptors for all the free content.
That's free content.
So I want you guys to think about some last thoughts. I'm going to leave everyone with. Again, guys, we're compiling all the objections, what we believe, be the best answers to all these. So text objections to 33777, and we'll send those to you probably in the next couple of weeks. We've starting to get some coming in, so I'm looking forward to compiling all that.
That's cool.
So what are some last thoughts you'd like to leave all the listeners with?
You have any last thoughts? For me, honestly, guys, I think it's important right now that you know your business, know where you want to go, have a vision, have a plan. Bible says there's no vision, the people perish. I think it's really important that we as entrepreneurs have the right vision that supports our purpose and helps drive us to our goals. And if you don't have that, then you're winging life. Yeah. And that's one thing I love about the curriculum. And one thing I love about business operating system. It's there to support the vision and protect you and your purpose to getting you to your 100%. And so I think that's what I want to leave people with today is like, go at life with some level of intentionality.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use, like intentional. What we've put together and how we've walked people through it is very intentional. It's no longer, I feel like this is the right way. Feelings don't matter most of the time. Your feelings could be wrong. You could have had a bad dinner last night and your feelings off. You couldn't have gotten sleep last night. The feelings are hard to analytically put in a process to make it make sense.
Right.
So again, those cliche statements of right people, right seats, there's a very tactical, intentional way to measure and understand how people do that. But look at every part of your business and system as intentional. What are we going to intentionally do today? Because we're not going to accidentally have success. We're going to intentionally get that success.
Yeah. Losing weight over the last year has been very intentional.
Yeah.
Building a business has been very intentional. Driving to our purpose has been very intentional. Raising kids has been very intentional. Like you have to have a vision and you have to put intent behind it. If you don't do that, then you're going to find yourself looking back wishing you had.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't know how people live a life without it. Really frustrating.
Yeah, it's those are the other side, the arrogant side of people drives me insane. And then the people are like, I don't know, I'm just going to wing it today.
Yeah.
That's another thing that kind of gets under my skin sometimes. But anyway.
Someone wants to get a hold of you. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Probably sharperbusiness.com.
Sharperbusiness.com.
Yeah.
Website.
They can follow us on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Instagram and YouTube are probably some of our biggest platforms right now. But if you follow us on Instagram, pushes you usually back to YouTube. I really am, not to brag. I hope it doesn't come across arrogant, but I love what our marketing's done and our YouTube channel lately. They have our shorts and our long-term content is the best, honestly, in business, I think, that you're going to find.
Yeah, we have intentionally put together content this year.
Yeah,
I think kind of the first time that we've really intentionally got in front of a camera and pushed record, for me at least. And our team has done a great and phenomenal job of getting the message out there.
I think we're investing over $300,000 a year in marketing right now.
Wow.
So very intentional.
That's not insignificant.
No.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys coming in.
Steve.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
I'll see you guys later.
Awesome. That was fun.
It was fun.
I got lost.